Hello friends, my name is Kristen Newhouse. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a unit manager for the Claims Customer Experience team at Intact Insurance.
My pronouns are she and her.
We believe that insurance is about people, not things. We strive to create an environment where employees feel safe, respected, and supported, and can bring their best selves to work every day. This is demonstrated by the many employee networks that we have here at Intact, which focus on topics such as diversity and inclusion, leadership development, and many others. We at Intact are so happy to support this year's Calgary Pride Learning Series and are delighted to welcome you to today's workshop. Enjoy and happy Pride!
On like the couch, and it's not the casting couch. That's not appropriate. But I'm Teresa. This is Tom, and we are your hosts tonight. And we're so excited that everybody is here. So first off, if you've stumbled into this room, this is called Dragged Up History. It's a Friday night party about history, which is bizarre, but we'll try it. It's our first time. But first, Tom is going to do me a favor, because as a Métis woman, they always ask me to read the land acknowledgement, but the big white dude can do it.
Yeah, the big white dude's going to do it, sure. So, in the spirit of respect, as inhabitants of Calgary, Alberta, we honor and acknowledge Mohkinstsis and the traditional Treaty 7 territory and oral practices of the Blackfoot Confederacy, ISCCA, Kainai, Piikani, as well as the Yarhe, Nakota, and Tsuut'ina nations. We acknowledge that the territory we work and live upon is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. Thank you.
So that's out of the way. First things first, we're going to talk a little bit about the program. This is more of an experimental night, so we're very excited to have three incredible performers joining us who will be performing pieces from history, their own, as well as reinterpretation of it. So when did we come up with this idea? I came up with this and I showed up to you and went, let's do this.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do it really big, but then COVID happened.
So
this is a smaller version of everything. So we're going to turn off our camera so we can get everybody on. And I really want everybody to just introduce themselves and talk a little bit about what we're going to see briefly tonight. So just maybe 2 or 3 sentences about how excited you are to be here, hopefully. And the best part about all of this is that nobody is wearing trousers. So it's outstanding. What? I am. Well, I am wearing trousers. Yeah. He needed to prove it, but I don't.
I did.
Yeah.
Well, I was wearing shorts for the last one of these that I hosted. So.
Yes, that's right. That's right. You were wearing shorts. And I had a skirt on, so it counts. All right. I'm off. We are super, super duper lucky. We have Shane Onyou that's joining us. Shane.
Hi, everybody. Shane Onyou.
Yeah.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Hello. Thank you. Shane Onyou, he, him are my pronouns. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for asking me.
I figure you're one of those people that we needed to have involved in this because I saw you at the library reading to little kids, and you were just so good with them. They were like, cool, and wanted to like touch your beard.
Yes. They like the contacts.
Oh, now we get the contacts. Yes, there we go.
I am a little jealous of the beard.
I am too.
Yeah.
Should be.
Yes.
Totally fair.
Who's going next? Yes, go for it. All right. Who gets off mic? Hello.
Hi, everyone. My name is Not Enough. My pronouns are he, him, they, them, she, her. You can call me anything you want. Just don't call me late to dinner. I am born and raised in Calgary, and this is really exciting because this is my first ever Calgary Pride event that I've been a part of. So I'm really excited. I got a notification this morning that I have been going to Pride for 13 years, which is crazy. So this is really cool, full circle, 13 years later. So really excited to be
Thank
here.
you for joining us. We're super excited to see you. I've seen you perform, but I was usually in the back of the room. Thank you for thinking I'm cool. And now, last but seriously never least.
Hi. I'm last but seriously not least. No, I'm so excited to be here. When you guys reached out to have us be a part of this, it was such an exciting event to do, because the history of Pride is something that's really cool, because we can take it from so many multiple angles. And I think that tonight's crowd has got a good little grab at everything. And if we're talking about how long, I'm also Calgary born and raised. And this will be math's hard.
It is.
This will be my 16th Pride. 15th Pride. Math's hard.
Oh, nice. Shane, we didn't ask you what number Pride is this for you? I'm seeing mouth movement, but no sound. Oh, here I go.
I turned it off so I wouldn't get over on Farah there. But yeah, no, that would give away my age. But I've been going a very long time.
It's okay. I did the math. My first Pride was 1995.
Oh, I'm a wee baby compared to all of the rest of you guys. Then I think my first Pride was maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I moved here. Actually.
Well, that's awesome.
But yeah,
it's never too late, my friend.
Well, and I've always tried to get involved every year, because it's such a wonderful time. Like, it's the most wonderful time of the year. The heck with Christmas. Let's like Pride is the celebration.
Christmas is
97.
Sorry. Oh, wow.
97.
Yeah, 97. And then somebody was going to say something.
1990.
Oh, I said Christmas.
Yes.
Is very important.
Oh, yes. I would never
Christmas is the
deny
best.
the importance of Christmas, but I don't know. I think Pride is more colorful to me.
Then Christmas?
That's
Yeah,
true.
it's all white and red at Christmas.
Oh no, you haven't seen my Christmas. No. We'll talk later about that. But yeah, exactly. So,
Christmas is the gayest Christmas you could be.
yes, we need to bring that.
You absolutely have to see Farah's house at Christmas. I've only ever seen it through Instagram, but my gosh,
That's
holy
awesome.
Moses.
You should see it during Pride, because at Christmas it's clean and beautiful. During Pride, there's literally a wig on every station in my house. Like, my chairs have costumes on them. My husband comes home and goes, "When's Pride over again?"
Yeah.
My husband's
I could see
suffering
that.
too. I take over the living room and bring strange people home. So
I'm not that strange.
no, you're not. You look pretty good. You're okay. So Shane, we're going to go with you first. And so the rest of us will turn off our
Absolutely.
mics and turn off our webcams. And Shane, you're going to lead us off. Would you like to do your presentation? You're singing, you're dancing, you're grooving first? All
Yeah,
right.
let's do the grooving first. My mic's on.
Do you want to try?
Riley says they're having.
Yeah, I wonder why they're having problems with the upload as well. I'm not too sure. Well, let's try anyways. Go for it.
Okay, start the
I'll
slideshow.
try to do that.
Once you do that, I will get going.
Yep.
Can you hear me now, can you? Right on.
And thank you, everyone, for bearing with us with this. It's definitely an experiment, a work in progress.
All new.
Yeah, thanks for everybody's patience while we fight along with the technology of the universe.
Is that what COVID is? The technology of the universe?
Well, yeah, it's just all of us trying to figure out what the heck's going on most of the time.
Absolutely true. It has been one of the most fun aspects of the COVID nation is trying to figure out how to continue doing drag.
Fair enough.
Yeah, like this was not written down in any book I've ever seen. Let's think about trying to do drag, or this show. And I'm sitting here going, what the flaming heck, you know? So it's been a.
I think. Go ahead. I think Parker put it best when they said, we're all building the plane as we fly it and hoping for the best. So isn't that a great analogy?
No, we're back.
No, we're back. I just tried to refresh. So, because I'm having issues, I guess. So I think if our tech can find the emails I sent, that would also work. Because right now I sent the emails and it's not downloading at all. Like it's taking forever. This is crazy. It literally does not care.
Calgary Pride, if you have it, play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Calgary. Thanks, guys. All right, here we go.
Started by the jealous people, and they get mad seeing something they had and somebody else is holding. They'll be that temptation. It's very hard to resist. But these wicked women, ooh, they just persist. Maybe you think it's cute, but girl, I'm not impressed. I tell you one time only with my business, please don't mess with you. Look at all these rumors that's surrounding me every day. I just need some time to get away from all these rumors. Can't take it no more. My best friend said, "There's one out there about me and the girl next door." Hear that one about Tina? Some say she's much too loose. That came straight from a guy who claims she's dating her too. Hear that one about Michael? Some say he must be gay. I tried to argue, but they said if he was straight, he wouldn't move that way. Hear that one about Susan? Some say she's just a tease. In a camisole, she's 6 feet tall. She'll knock you to your knees. Look at all these rumors surrounding me every day. I just need some time to get away from all these rumors. Can't take it no more. My best friend said, "There's one I never leave the girl next door." I can't go no place without somebody putting a finger. I can't show my face off when it comes to rumors. I'm a little ringer. It seems from rumors I just can't get away. I bet there'll even be rumors floating around on Judgment Day. I think I'll write my congressman and tell him to pass a bill. For the next time they get somebody started rumors, shoot to kill with it. Look at all these rumors surrounding me every day. I just need some time to get away from all these rumors. Can't take it no more. My best friend said, "There's one I never leave the girl next door." Mine is mine. I ain't got time for rumors in my life. I'm a man who thinks, not a man who drinks, so please let me live my life.
Woo! All right.
Doodle Village. That was awesome.
I was just saying to Teresa, I don't think I've actually heard that song since it came out in the 80s. I remember watching the video on Much Music.
Yes, I remember that too. Much Music. Oh my goodness.
Right? Played music.
Yeah.
So please give us a little bit of a rundown there. There were a lot of images, a lot of things going on, and then you've got the song. And so, what was your process in putting that together?
For me, when I was in high school, there was a lot of rumors spread about me, rumors that things that were said that I wasn't even sure of yet, right? So, it was really hard when people were teasing me and bullying me about things that we didn't discuss in the 80s.
No, we did not.
As well, no, we didn't. And as well in the 80s, as of course, many of you know, we had the really big part of the AIDS epidemic really hit then. It's not to say that AIDS wasn't around long before that, but it got really bad in the 80s, and that's when the epidemic started, and all those slides were taken right from the 80s. So all the protests, all the magazine covers, the news articles about AIDS and how it was the gay cancer and the name they had for it before AIDS, which was GRID.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was called GRID before AIDS, and it was gay something immunodisease.
Oh.
Yeah, it was.
I'd have to go.
It was for. I can't remember the acronym right now. It's in my slide somewhere. I'd have to go back and look. But yeah,
it's called GRID.
That's what they had.
Gay
GRID. Yeah.
Compromise.
It's gay something.
Yeah, but it was the point was and what all of the images conveyed to me is that it was a gay disease.
Yeah.
And I remember,
and they really played on that.
And I remember that
they
did well. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
they played on people's fear with that.
I'm sorry, there was a lot of fear with that.
They played on people's fear by using that it was a gay. They even called it gay cancer for a long time. It was really, in my opinion, it was a way to perpetuate the religious belief that what we were doing was wrong, and that we were being punished through this epidemic that was a gay cancer, right, a gay disease, and they played on that a lot when it really turned out to be that it wasn't even a gay man that necessarily brought it. Like, I don't know if you've seen the movie, and then the band played. Yeah. That's all about how AIDS came over. And so, there's a lot more to the story, and people just wanted to pin it on the gay community. And we were having a hard enough time to begin with at that time. We didn't have all these labels. We didn't have all these associations, these affiliations that would help us out, alliances. We didn't have any of that stuff. And if we did, it was secretive and closeted and behind closed doors. And to find out, you kind of had to be in the know. And so it was a very different time for me growing up. I didn't come out in the 80s. As a matter of fact, I came out in the 90s because of that. Like I said, I got beat up in grade 9. Somebody thought I was gay, and they beat me up in grade 9 because they thought I was gay. And that was just a thought. Like, I was born on the East Coast, but I was raised in Fort McMurray. So
that was
just going by that there. And in the day and age that it was, wow, yeah, no, I've lived in fear of coming out. I didn't come out while I lived up there, so.
It's I found it interesting that your choice of song was really wonderful, because what your slides were showing was sort of the official rumors, that were going on about AIDS, and very much those were because and thank you, Tara has just said gay-related immune deficiency. So that's what the
thank you, related. I couldn't remember the word. Thanks, Tara.
And because there was a lack of queer people in education, a lack of queer people in medicine, a lack of those queer voices.
Visible.
That's why visible. Yes, sorry. Visible. Yeah, absolutely.
We were there. Yeah. We just weren't being paid attention.
We were all over the place.
Yeah.
We were hiding.
Right.
Or when we did try to come out, it was like what happened to you and what happened to me. There was a lot of rumors and negativity.
Yep.
Even in the 90s. But yeah, the song and the videos you were going to say.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that Teresa and I talked about when we were talking about this this project originally was how would these moments in our history, queer history, have been different if that queer voice had been there, if that queer perspective had been listened to, had been. So I really like that juxtaposition of the reason those rumors were there, the reason there was so much misinformation is because no one was listening to our voices at the time.
Yeah.
No, we didn't have voices. And when we did, they just trampled over top of them, and it didn't matter. They passed laws to closet us, to keep us quiet. Yeah. Whatever they could do, they shut us up at every turn. So not to say that we weren't trying, and, the people ahead of me were doing a fabulous job, because hence where we've become, So, but yeah, it's been a battle. It's been a battle. And even in my short little lifespan, I'm closer to 50, there you go, than I am to 40. And, I've lived a few lives. I have, I've lived a few generations of different things, of not being able to have labels to describe myself, to here I am, I'm loud, I'm queer, I'm out, love me or hate me, I don't care, right? So we've come a long way.
And Farron says, but you look amazing.
Thank you, Sarah.
You know what? It is, you bring up a very interesting idea there, is that we're actually part of a generation that has seen a number of different changes like that, sort of socially, culturally, we're still in the midst of the sort of the queer revolution, whatever we might want to call it, right? But like the invention of the internet, social networks, things like that. We're old enough that we remember the pre and the post, which I think is Generation X has a very interesting perspective, I think, on a lot of these shifts that we see culturally.
Culturally, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Just don't call me Karen or baby boomer, and I'm happy.
My child came up to me the other day, or not the other day, a few weeks ago, and said, "Yeah, okay, whatever, boomer." And I said, "No,
that's my sister, not me.
That's my brothers. Yeah. No, it's not.
They're older.
Against the boomers.
I just missed it. I'm not a boomer. Oh, so good to have non-boomers with me. Thank you all.
We're trying. But the last historical question I have for you too is, when I was listening to the music, I find in the rhetoric of the 80s and the 90s, especially the 80s, there were a lot of queer voices in music. In your interpretation now, are there a lot of queer voices in music that are kind of doing what they were doing in the 80s? Because I feel like for some reason there is sort of, it's not as controversial if you're queer anymore. This was the statement that somebody gave me. So I'm wondering if you think that as well, just by kind of that you have that type of lens.
Going through the ages, I would say, it's not as controversial anymore. I do a few numbers, which is good. Yeah, it's really good in a lot of sense. However, just going to throw it out there, Jason Kenney and Trump are setting us back majorly, but regardless, it's out there, right? So
yeah, I think you're right. That's the thing is there's more opportunity for us to have the voice, right? There wasn't the opportunity to have the voice at that time. It's not that the voice necessarily needs to stop or that the work needs to stop, but there's definitely more of what we're doing right now, right? There's more.
I couldn't imagine this 10 years ago.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
In the 1980s.
Nah, I didn't. Hey, I was playing with my Barbie.
And I have a female friend. Her name's Kate Reed. Y'all should follow her. She is she hasn't put anything out lately because she's a prof down in Ontario, but her music is phenomenal. It's all activism, lesbian, folk music, and it talks about the battle for us, for the youth. There's even a child's album she puts out. Aww. Another great, there's lots of great artists out there that still are trying to put out a message. You just have to kind of look for those ones.
That's really, really nice to hear. That's very cool. Yeah. Very happy to hear that. The question too is it's kind of about AIDS and HIV, and this came up in the panel that I did not too long ago with Dr. Gill, who continues to work on research in AIDS and fighting AIDS here at the Foothills Hospital. I mean, I think he's going to keep doing it till he's 110. They brought up a good point. They feel like the newer generations are not getting told the same things that we did, that it is deadly, that you can die from it. And it's sort of now become a forgotten pandemic. Would you think that? Shane Onyou, would you?
I'm gonna say yes and no. We don't talk about it as much, but we also have a lot more medication and assistance to help it to live longer. Like if I didn't put any of the charts in there because they were really confusing and all that, but if you look at some of the peaks, during the epidemic, it was a steady incline. And then in the 90s, it hit a peak and then it started to drop again. But it's because of the lessons that we taught and just safe sex in general, as far as STDs go, all the stuff that we learned from the AIDS epidemic, how we've instilled it in a broader thing has really helped out as well. But it's not to say it's not still deadly, and people should be very aware of it and all that stuff. But the fear is not as huge. It was unknown then whether you were going to live or die. And now you have a greater chance of living a long, happy life with HIV or AIDS. So
that's fantastic. Yeah. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, wonderful presentation. Thank you. That was really cool. And I love your brick wall so much.
Thank you.
It's very gay, and I love it because I love everything that's
Thank you.
We love everybody that's gay. So thank you so much, Shane Onyou. I cannot wait to see you on stage live very soon. As much as I love this, I got to get out of the house.
Yes. So absolutely. People give me a follow.
Yeah. I think that if anybody wants, when are you performing live? Next place? When's your next show? Do you know yet?
Tomorrow night or tomorrow during the day, I have an all ages brunch at Twisted Element that I'm hosting. And then tomorrow night with Farah and Nada, we are all at the Ramada doing a rooftop hotel show for Calgary Pride as well.
Cool.
Yes.
Nice.
Very
Darn.
cool.
I'm going to have to watch that live from the comfort of my home.
I hear you.
So it's unfortunate. Well, have fun tomorrow night. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just a blessing to see you again and just overwhelmed with happiness. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Shane.
Thanks, Shane.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Okay, knock 'em dead, ladies.
Yeah, they will. All right. So I am going to get the next human on. And I'm just looking to see who is it next. Was it Farah or Nada? I'm looking for one of them.
I thought Nada said.
I think it was Nada. Yeah, Nada. Nada. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. I love your earrings. For a minute there, I thought they were beaded earrings, like very traditional, like local indigenous craft. And then I looked and I'm like, oh, they're even like, that is just awesome.
They're even
just
more fabulous.
So cool. They're
So
just
I'm going to do a quick little plug for them. I work with some friends over at Amped Accessories, which is a Calgary-based jewelry company here. And we make a lot of stage jewelry and jewelry for drag queens. And if you watch this season of Canada's Drag Race, if you watched last night, we actually made the crown and scepter for the winner. I'm not going to say the winner in case you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it,
I haven't. Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Come on.
People, I know. I haven't had a chance. I was out today. I got a lot of burn.
That's fair. So we made the crown and scepter. So look out for it when you watch it.
Very cool.
That is so
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a wicked cool opportunity. So it was kind of a huge deal last night to see it on TV. It was really cool.
Yes, fair enough. It is fair enough.
You know, I use the phrase "fair enough" so often now.
Yeah.
I have to watch myself tonight.
Right. And
Well,
there's
congratulations.
tons about me.
Yeah, no,
And not enough, right? Yeah,
and not
yeah.
enough. Sometimes it's enough, and it's
just
all
enough, you know.
But that's fantastic. Well,
Yeah,
congratulations
amazing.
to everybody on the team that built that crown and scepter. That's incredible. I can't wait to see it. So congratulations.
Great.
So let's get you and your presentation next.
Sure.
So is it a film you're doing?
It's okay, yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit before it starts, just a precursor. I find myself to be very politically inclined. I try not to follow politics too much, too closely, because I find it's rot your brain. But at a time like this, Pride has always been political and should always be political. So this is kind of my silent middle finger to the current government, and kind of a little history piece on some of the things that they have done towards our community.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Okay. Very excited to see. Very excited to see.
Great.
So
I don't know who has it.
Calgary Pride, can you whip up that video and then we'll get going? Awesome. I got to remember to mute.
Ask and you shall receive.
fast, hey?
Wow.
Yeah.
So-
So many things to say. So Teresa, please, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
That's very kind.
Yeah, that really rated very well to the screen. So that worked very, very well that you did.
You know what? My background in video editing sometimes comes in handy.
Wow. Okay.
So first off, I wanted to ask a little bit, Nada, about why those two songs, just from your point of view.
Yeah, totally. So I was brought up on country music. I've always really loved country music. Mostly because I find myself as a storyteller, and country music oftentimes is always about the story and about the lyrics. And something about the Chicks, when I was younger, they were these badass women that were so outspoken, and they were so ostracized by pop culture because of things that they were saying politically. And that was my first kind of like glimpse of someone using their fame that I remember noticing for the first time. I'm sure there was lots before that, but it was the first time I had noticed that these women were standing up for what they believed in and using their platform to speak out about things that they didn't agree with. And I went, oh, wow, this is what you should be doing with your platform. This is what the kind of people that I want to follow, and I want to listen to their music because they're doing things to use their voice for good, right? Thousands and millions of people know them, so they're using it for something that they believe in, and a way to progress through society. Stamp, yes, queen.
You know, I really like that. I mean, obviously because music is such an intrinsic part of drag, but the fact of picking or gravitating towards maybe songs and performers that use their voice to do just a little bit more maybe than simply the entertainment. Not that is an unimportant thing, right? We need to have our pop music, we need to have our entertainment, but country music singers, I think some like singer-songwriters, folk music singers, the ones who sort of take what they're seeing in the world and speak it back to us, maybe give us some words that we might not have been able to attach to it. And I think you're right that the Chicks, absolutely, like for me, they were a similar experience to see them so ostracized and kind of go, wow, just because they voiced this opinion.
One of the reasons was.
Oh, yes, yeah, absolutely.
And that brings me to my next question, actually, which is about gaslighting. So the point of this project is that you could speak back to historical things. And even so, it doesn't matter if it's recent history, it could be last month. And this is a great thing about what you chose to do, which is it is historical now what the response was by the UPC government. And you addressed that already. So with this, would you call it that he is doing and the UPC is doing, and we know you're pointing right the finger at Jason Kenney. Is there a sense that yeah, and he can sit and spin on it?
Oh yeah, that's a good.
Not a fan. Sorry, anybody was. The historical level of gaslighting. Do you remember that also as a young and out person, that there was always this sense of historical gaslighting? So if queer people did speak up about their own history, it was ignored, or people speaking up at all. Is there that sense today? Do you think that we are being still historically gaslighted? So when we talk about our histories in a different way, do you think that will also come into play?
Yeah, and from the way that I understand gaslighting, for sure. I feel like we often, even now, I mean, it's gotten better over time, but I find that we are often always having to explain the reasons that we believe in the things that we do, and the actions that we've done. A lot of these conversations, not that I'm part of the community, but I'm trying to empathize with the Black Lives Matter community, is that oftentimes that they just have to continue to explain themselves for why they're doing what they're doing. For example, in my little statement at the beginning, I did say, Pride was a riot, and there's riots happening right now. And I find queer people and people of color are now having to explain why they're rioting. Well, at some point we have to riot because nobody's listening to us. We have to do something so people listen to us. So yeah, I remember always having to explain myself as a young queer person. We didn't have a GSA in my school. It was called a what did we call it?
Yeah.
A social justice.
Yeah, the gay straight alliances. I mean, we just didn't have those until very recently, and now suddenly they're horrible ideas. And I'm sitting here going, no, it's not.
Right.
It gives everybody a platform. And so when you say explain, to me, when I hear that you need to justify how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're right. I think a lot of Black Albertans right now, the ones that I know I'm friends with, are having to justify how they feel about things. Well, you've been gaslighting me historically.
Mm-hmm.
You have been dismissing me talking and saying, yes, this is our histories, this is our issues. You've been ignoring it. And now you expect these individuals, these Black Calgarians, these Black queer Calgarians, these Black Albertans, to suddenly have to hold your hand and walk you down the path.
Yeah.
And do you feel, and so I guess that's the same thing that you felt as a queer person.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's at some point we need to stop. I don't need to explain to you that what you have done is wrong to me. The onus is now on you to make the decision to go back and learn about what you did was wrong. And I don't need to teach that to you. You need to figure it out why you did something wrong. Of course, education breeds inclusion, acceptance once you educate. But at some point, I don't need to tell you what you did wrong. You should know what you did wrong. I remember being a young queer person, and I didn't have a ton of role models. And so that's why, as a queer adult, I find myself trying to do as much as I can for youth, because I felt like I didn't have anybody looking out for me. So now it's my job to be able to do that for other queer kids.
Wonderful. You know what? I share that feeling. Absolutely. You know, like the growing up and having that absolute complete lack of support, of education, like as a queer young man in like high school in the mid 80s. You know,
you were screwed.
It was basically, you know, if you have sex with another man, you will die, and that was it. That was it for sex education, basically.
How
right?
is that remotely useful?
So yeah, I feel very much the same way. Is if I can, in a form like this, or as a teacher, or whatever, to bring some of this information to people and sort of say, look, we've been here all along. Here's how we've been damaged, but here's what we have to offer. Here's how wonderful our community is too. Look at the variety of people, the talent, the colors.
Yeah.
You know? So I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and one of the other pieces, one of the news articles that I put in was queer youth or LGBTQ youth demand a meeting with the UCP government, and that's where I was like, damn, I wish I was as brave and as determined as youth, especially queer youth right now. They are pissed off. And I'm like, I will be right behind you. I will bail you out of jail, whatever you need. Because I wish I was that strong when I was their age. And I wish I had people backing me up. So when I see that stuff, I'm like, you go, babies, you go.
Yeah.
And that's the key, is that we have to remember historically and this is what I wanted to talk to you about, queer elders. So we're very lucky now that we're all kind of coming into our own now. Like, we will become, hopefully, people who are encouraging the younger generation to continue to push. But a lot of our elders, the queer elders that I wanted to reach out to, a lot of them were kept in the dark and a lot of fear in the 80s still, not just for me, it's like Shane Onyou was talking about, but also they were dying. And so we lost a lot of our elders. And do you think that's true in your case as well? Did you feel like you had a lot of queer people to kind of help you along in your process? Any mentors in your own personal history? Because I didn't have a lot until I was well into my 20s and 30s, like well into.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I didn't really have queer elders in my life until probably I started doing drag, which was when I was 19. So I really didn't, I knew that my mom's boss at one of her jobs was gay, but that's all I knew about him. And I never really spoke to him. And then, I saw queer people on TV, but you don't really, it's harder to relate to someone on TV. At least it was for me anyways. Yeah. So it wasn't until I started drag, and then one of my biggest, if I ever called him an elder, I think he would push me off a bridge. But someone I worked with just recently, a few years ago, he, I would say, was like a queer elder to me, and he grew up or lived in San Francisco in the 80s. And so talking to him about what he went through, and knowing these people from movies and stuff that you see, like Milk now, like he knew some of these people. And he was telling me that he, was going to 2 to 3 funerals a month for a few years. And so I can't imagine all that talent and all that knowledge and all that passion to make the world better that's just been lost. And I think maybe that's why a lot of people, maybe my generation, I'm only 26, so I think maybe some people my generation don't have those kind of people to look up to in our communities because a lot of them are gone.
I think that's my case. A lot of them are gone. And the ones that are alive, I'm very thankful to them for taking the time to talk to me now in my 40s. Like they're constant inspiration, and they are from the 50s and the 40s, the 1940s and 50s, telling me what the dark times in some ways, but also the times of resilience and resistance. So it reminds me about why we're doing what we're doing, which is why we wanted your voice as well on here. And Riley brings up a really good point. Queens on TV for the longest time were the butt of the jokes. Is that a correct statement?
I would say that, like when you would see queer people on TV through the 80s and 90s, they were the side character, they were the queer best friend, the pervy uncle or something like that.
Never the pervy aunt.
Right. Right. So it's
getting love over here. Yeah, I know, right?
Tara says the show Friends. If you ever go back and watch that, it's hard to get through.
It's hard to watch.
Yeah,
it is.
So,
but we also have to remember at that time period, especially with Friends, that's the only way they even the fact that they introduced a trans character in any way, shape, or form was a miracle. Did they do it wrong? Yes. The fact that they actually did it is a miracle.
Right.
That it was played by a straight woman, not so great. But do you?
There it goes.
Yeah. There you go. There goes an earring. I guess my next question then would be for you, which is, what's one of those more pivotal historical moments for you that you noticed that really influenced you personally to get involved politically? Was it the UPC? Was it before that when you kind of saw that moment happen?
I would say probably it was the UCP when they started to have their voice a little bit louder. I think I can't remember what the party was called, but it was with Jim Prentice. When that all started to happen,
Wild Rose,
correct. Yeah. So when that all kind of started, I was just getting into journalism school in Lethbridge. So I was starting to pay more attention to, political things, the news cycle. I was really starting to pay more attention. And that was when Bill 10 started. And I think that's when I was like, okay, now I need to pay attention because now I'm an adult. I have power with my vote. And with my voice and with my social group. So it's about time that I use that for good. I have always thought to myself, my biggest dream, people have always asked me what my biggest dream is. And my biggest dream is to change one person's life. Because I feel like that's what we're all put on earth for, is to change at least one life. Be that, being a nice person to your family or, whatever, right? In any case, I want to change someone's life for the better. And I figured this really matters to some people, and especially to queer kids who don't have a voice. Someone needs to stick up for them because this is the world that they're going to live in a few years. So we need to stick up for them. And so that's when I started to get more interested. And one thing I wanted to say too is, yes, I did this big middle finger to the UCP and Jason Kenney. Do I think they're bad people? No. Do I think they've done bad things? Yes. Same with Friends, that episode and what they did. Was it wrong at the time? Yeah. Did everybody know it was wrong at the time? Not necessarily. But we've learned, and this cancel culture of things you've done 10 years ago or 50 years ago, people change, the world changes, we learn, we get educated, we get older, we gain knowledge, we get, everybody can change. So I have hope that they could change, and I have hope that, you know, the Conservative Party of Canada with their new leader, I hope that there's change, and I hope that this rhetoric of conservatives just hate gay people. I don't think they all hate us. I really don't. So
it's not true.
And I just wish that they would get with the times and just leave it. Like, let's just move on from this and focus on bigger issues in this world that we could actively fix if we stop talking about bathroom bills and GSAs and not getting fired because you're gay. Like, this is so far gone in history and in our society. Like, let's just move on and do something else. Let's focus on green energy. Let's focus on rebuilding our economy safely and responsibly, and missing and murdered Indigenous women, and Black Lives Matter. There's so much more to worry about right now.
So queering our history really means getting into the future rather than dwelling on the present and the past.
Exactly.
You know, and sorry, I shouldn't say it that way, because there are definitely things that we should be paying attention to in the past, but we also need to be. Yeah, you're right. You know, you said it perfectly. I shouldn't have said anything. We need to leave some of these things.
The consciousness of recognizing that things did happen in the past and we can't go back and change them. Yeah. We just have to keep moving forward and hope that we don't make those mistakes again.
Just be better, right?
Yeah, and you know better, so be better. I always said that to my students when I was teaching. You know better now. You need to do better.
Yeah.
It's simple. And I think when we look at history of any type, or we're looking at how people were treated in the past, I used to work on Indian residential schools, and now queer history. And it's great because I can say to people, the way we act now is I can correlate it to the way we acted in the past. Mm-hmm. So when you're acting this way, UPC, Jason Kenney, other people, I want you to be aware that you are just perpetuating ideas and constructs that were existing before you came, and you were sold a bag of lies. You were told certain things, right? You were told certain things about Indigenous people. You're told certain things about queer people, Black people, whatever. White people. You're told things about white people that are not true. So you need to step back and kind of start to realize that you have to know that history and start to unpack it properly so you can manage your behavior now.
Yes.
And I think that's what we're all hoping to do with this program and other programs is try to address that.
Yeah.
And I think that's very empowering, hopefully, for young people. Know your history, but don't repeat it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So, I would really, really, really like if we could get on to our last presenter, and then we'll come back to Farah and Nada together, and then all three of us can talk about
I have to be with her? Oh, gross.
I'm so sorry.
There's some of the patented drag shade that I've been waiting for all evening.
She's my sister.
Oh, the shade.
Two of my talking points, but it's okay. I love her anyway.
Put a shirt on.
All right.
You whore.
No, my tattoos are pride. It's part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We'll see you soon, Nada. Thank you.
All right. Hello, Farah.
Hello. Okay, so I took a completely different route.
This is good.
Excellent. Good. Excited?
I am very excited because a lot of the points that you brought up are a lot of the things that I put in my video.
Cool.
And that I want to talk to about my video. So I think before we talk anything about it, you should just watch it.
I think we should too.
Okay.
I will just say before we watch it, I'm a performance artist. I'm a dancer first and foremost. It's what I do. None of that's happening in this video. But like from the dancer side of everything, I always look for like the deeper meaning.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So I hope that you get that from this.
We probably will, because you're used to communicating through this medium.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we probably will. So let's go ahead and run it for us. Calgary Pride. And
I have it.
Okay, so I think, nope, we got it. We're going.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows, and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me.
Pride is consistent. It keeps growing and changing as we move further and further into a more inclusive future.
Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Somebody thought of that and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell, we know that it's probably magic.
Pride is a celebration of who we are and who we're going to be. Pride is love. Pride is equality. Pride is togetherness. Pride is growth. Pride is unity. Pride is family. Love is love, is love, is love.
Have you been half asleep, and have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that called the young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. The lovers, the dreamers, and me.
Pride isn't a celebration or a riot anymore. It's an evolution, a revolution, bringing inclusivity around the world for all who deserve it.
Great.
So good.
So many things. The captions you put across the screen were they were so well chosen, so well worded, and your interludes were I wasn't expecting them, and yeah, just what a wonderful juxtaposition, wonderful things you were saying. Yeah, what a great performance. Really great.
Thank you.
Now we gotta talk to you about why Rainbow Connection.
Yeah.
Unpack it.
Why?
I have thoughts about that too, but yeah, what do you why that song?
Why is that historically important to you, that song?
Okay. Kermit the Frog.
I just said that.
The Muppet Show on a log. Gay child being told to put up, be a man, don't cry. Children are to be seen, not heard.
Mm-hmm.
I have to apologize. I'm actually like really emotional now, but it's fine. The reason why that song has resonated with me for years is because I didn't think this would be emotional. The whole idea of a rainbow connection. You talked about it earlier when it was said like queerifying culture. We're in that moment right now. With even as problematic as RuPaul's Drag Race can be for certain members of the LGBTQ2+ community, it is still an amazing platform. And that, like we talked about it before with Nada as well, and with Shane, is that we go back and we look at how things were presented in the past. And many times queer people have been made a joke, a stereotype. We live in this world where you needed to fit a certain queer box in order to be queer in society, to be gay in society, to be a lesbian in society, to be trans in society. If you didn't fit that specific box, then it was harder to be you. And that was something that was really hard for me growing up. And that song specifically harbors a lot in my heart because I have a show, I can't cry.
It came through in the video. It absolutely came through in the video. Like there was so much emotion going on there while you were recording and while you were singing. So I mean that comes through, that importance of it to you.
Yeah.
It's the building of the future, right? Pride started as a riot, and now we party. Now we're rioting again for Black Lives Matter. And there will be a day where that is a party. I hope.
Right.
I pray.
Yeah.
I do everything I can to help. As a cisgender white male, I have a voice, but I've made mistakes in my past. Nada has said it. If we're focusing so much on what we did before and not what we can do later.
Yeah, it's you're absolutely right. It's building the future. It's and I think a thought occurred to me actually while your film was playing was that the Rainbow Connection, I'm sure, was not written as a queer iconic theme song. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say I'm sure. Maybe it was.
No, it wasn't. It was written specifically to make sure that everybody knew, and it didn't matter who, because it was written for children, that everybody loved everyone and with no barrier.
Right.
And that was the point of that song, was it has to be everybody has a dream, everybody wants something better for themselves. And so when it was written, that was the intention. It wasn't for straight people, it wasn't for gay people.
Right,
it wasn't. So that's the whole point of the song, is that everybody wants something. And
the whole message of the song is
it's
and the rainbow connection. Us as queer people have been able to like steal the rainbow from Jesus or whatever people want to.
Is that who we should from?
It's okay. Jesus doesn't care. Jesus is probably, I don't know. I'm speaking for a man. I don't know, but I'm sure he'd be okay.
A lot of people speak for that man. They don't know.
Yeah.
My mother always had a problem with those people, by the way.
It's the idea of the rainbow connection is the connection of there being a means to an end to something that's taking away. So like whether it be taking away from the gay community, the Black community, the trans community, the Indigenous community, all the communities that are real. We're here. We're not going anywhere. We've been around forever. Historically, gay relations were celebrated before Catholicism took place, like took hold in 270 x BC or AD, because the Catholic Church decided it was bad.
Yeah.
And when the Roman Catholic Empire grew, they started to squash out all of the underlining religious groups or relic groups or everyone else and pushed all these narratives. You go back religiously, it's something that has been taken away. The Greeks, they cherished gay relationships. The Romans were encouraged to have gay relationships within the army pre-Catholicism, because that sexual relation between two men on the battlefield would bring a better camaraderie for those men and their partners on the battlefield. You would have more power to protect your neighbor if you loved them. And when you go back in time to where the Bible came from, and I talk a lot about religion, it's something that I have a huge passion about, because people hide behind it as a means in which to hate, when every single book that's written on religion, the main premise of the story is love and acceptance and caring for your neighbor and caring for people around you and doing what you can for those that can't. So that rainbow connection is removing the homophobia from the Bible or from that religious nature. And what we know, the Protestants, what would be now the Protestants, were the ones that headstrong took on that idea of like men and women only. Like the Bible didn't even have anything about homosexuality until the early 1900s, when it was retranslated for an American company, and they removed pedophile and replaced it with homosexual.
Interesting. I was not aware of that.
There's a couple of historical inaccuracies there.
The line, "a man shall not lay with another man," was reworded to that as it would be, "a man should not lay with a child."
Wow.
Because again,
when translated directly,
historically, people have, for many reasons, combined pedophilia and homosexuality. And where did that come from? We now know a lot of that was made up in the 19th century, actually, from misinterpretations like that. We also know, because I was raised Catholic, and I was told by a priest very clearly that the way that they interpreted the Bible was incorrect, because there was many instances where Jesus was helping. In this one case, a man came to him and said, my slave is ill. But actually, and it was actually mentioned, I can't remember, on another TV show, but this priest came to our school and said, that's actually inaccurate. It said my love, my heart. It meant the person I am bonded to is sick and dying, and Jesus healed them. So there is a historical purposeful misinterpretation of many things in the Old and New Testament, where it was that historical link between pedophilia and homosexuality, and then we just reinterpreted it continually in our own way historically. Now it's finally, I hope, starting to, be questioned, but yeah, it's still a big issue.
Should we maybe, we've got about 15 minutes left or so. Should we bring Nada back on?
Yes,
to,
please.
Make three of us? No. The Far says no, Nada. I'm sorry. But,
I think we can do.
You can come back on if you want, though.
Nada.
And just.
I was in the middle of doing my earrings back.
So there was one other thing that jumped out to both Teresa and I actually about your video, Farah, which was there's a quote that said, "Be the person you needed growing up," and I thought that really nicely joined all three of our projects here together. Really, right? Like, be that person that you didn't have, that one that you wanted to look up to, that elder that wasn't there because HIV decimated an entire generation of elders, right? Like, please go on. Yeah.
My thought on that, I'm an educator. I'm a professional dance teacher. That's my job. I work with children 6 days of the week. I'm currently in university getting my education degree so I can move on to being a teacher full time. If there's any teaching positions left 2 years from now. But so that's always been my main motto. I should have I stole the quote from someone else, but I don't know who else said it, but I literally say it every day to everyone new, because I didn't have someone like me to look up to as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm outspoken, I'm loud, I'm queer, I'm a drag queen. I believe in fighting for what's right. I don't care if you don't like me. And I think that's the other thing that channels back into Nada's performance is this idea of likability.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of conservatives paint themselves in an image which they think will allow them to be more likable by a general public.
Mm-hmm.
They may not believe it themselves, but they paint themselves a way that they will be perceived, and that also leads into gaslighting.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because it becomes this facade, this lie. I'm lying. I'm not a real woman.
Yeah,
you're not.
It's okay. Neither am I. No, I am.
Surprise.
Nipples.
I didn't know it was going to turn into that kind of show.
Oh, my plans are.
Just needed to shock Nada. She hasn't known. She's never seen me outside of drag.
It's true. Interesting.
No,
I'm just kidding. No, she totally has.
Oh, okay. All right.
One thing that I did want to say that I noticed during Farah's performance was, or when you were talking and getting emotional, I also was crying, and I'm like, girl, we have a show in 2 hours. Please don't make me do my makeup for a third time today. But I was getting emotional too, and I got emotional last night watching the finale of Drag Race. And it's this conversation about queerizing culture.
Queering culture, right?
Yeah, queering culture. So watching this show last night, that's on a major Canadian television network. It's broadcast in countries all over the world.
Yeah.
We've been watching RuPaul's Drag Race for years, waiting for our chance, right? Forever. And so finally, it's our chance to be able to show our craft and our knowledge and our history. And I got emotional watching the finale last night because those are people, I might not know them personally, and I don't know any of them really. I know one of them personally. But those are our friends and our peers that we work with in bars all the time. And finally, we are getting seen. And I was so emotional watching it because those are my friends, those are my peers. We're doing something good.
There are gay people.
We're gay people. Look at us. We're thriving. She won $100,000 last night. We're gay and we're here.
And a beautiful crown and scepter supplied by
the crown and scepter I've heard wonderful things about. Wonderful things.
And that's what I was to say in a historical context, that it is when you have a disenfranchised group, queer people, and I always use that terminology to capture everybody under that very rainbowy umbrella that we're all under, and that includes Two-Spirit, especially, our brothers and sisters who are of another, fluid gendered construct, anybody. There has not been a time where they have had, in my memory, in our Western culture, of having such an open dialogue with the rest of society. And I was going to say, is that kind of what you're seeing now with drag? Is drag sort of this historical, because it is, if we go back, the onus of drag was started way back in our own timeline. And how it was presented. It is now not an outsider thing. It is more like a conduit for discussion. Do you think that's true? That drag performance of male and female drag performing is now becoming a conduit to just talk to the rest of society instead of us being isolated all the time?
Absolutely. I'm gonna just jump in and say this. Not and I, during quarantine, started a company called Higher Heels, because we wanted a way to do drag and not that this isn't great, but like this wasn't enough for us. Being an empath, I feel energies extremely strongly, and the exchangement of energy is something very important to my survival on a day-to-day basis. So when we started being locked down and I wasn't able to hug someone who wasn't my husband for more than 3 days, I started to go a little crazy.
I'm a Brit.
I'd make him just like hold me, and I'd be like, "It's not enough. It's not." And he's like, "I love you though," and I'm like, "I know, but I'm a hugger. I hug a minimum of 5 people a day: my students, my friends, random friends at school, someone that's upset. I'll walk up and go, "Do you just need a hug today?" Because that exchangement of energy is something that we really need. And when we started Higher Heels, we didn't know what was going to happen. It blew up. It was fantastic. It was great. It was the craziest thing we've ever done. But we also got to bring drag to people that have never seen a drag show before, or have never seen a drag queen in person, but are obsessed with them on Instagram or the internet or Drag Race. So we started to have conversations with people like, why is drag interesting to you? What do you love about drag? What is it that pulls you into it? And one of the things that people said the most was that it's you being you. You're not being you, but you're presenting who you are through this.
I'm sorry, go on, please.
I was just gonna say that I think it's extremely important that like it's so important and so rewarding that we got to do that. Especially at a time where people were so uncertain and, like, I hate using that term, but unprecedented times, right? And having that, everyone's so sick and tired of that term, but like having that ability to be there and give them the energy where we as queer people and queer performers have the utmost of comfort. And those first couple shows were not comfortable.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I think what I was going to say is that there's this very sort of old, I want to say like an old adage about drag is that it's not covering something up, it's revealing something. Drag reveals something. Whatever kind of drag you're in, it's revealing something.
Very,
right?
very true.
I
was just going to add that as you were asking the question, is it like a way to talk to mainstream society, right? Is it this kind of way to be a part of it? I just did another quick little plug. Just did an interview actually today with Global Calgary about mainstream media and mainstream drag. Like, we are now mainstream things. So yes, I think it's a great way that we are talking to mainstream media and we're part of it. But also I still feel a lot of times I still feel like it's disingenuous for certain things where we get put into because we're the token drag queen, right?
So go back to the idea of like Jack McFarland on Will and Grace. Yeah. He was the utmost flaming homosexual token gay. And if you weren't like Jack,
no, I don't know anybody like that.
You were
honestly, I don't.
Well, I'm pretty close.
So yeah, but I mean, like, we've always been drag queens historically.
Get it, Tara?
I've always been at the beginning or at the front of the community. you know, reading I remember being a young queer person when I was 18. My first time I was allowed into a gay bar, the first person I walked up to was a drag queen because they seemed like the safe person to go to first.
It was me. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't me.
It wasn't you.
But I've been doing it
now.
now.
Old enough that it could be you, but it wasn't you.
But like, it also goes like, when I started drag 14 years ago.
Old,
right? I started drag 14 years ago, and I used to walk out of my house at 10 p.m. Like, it's dark out now, and I would have sunglasses on and a hat, and my wig would be in my bag, and I'd have a sweatsuit over top of my dress. And I'd like look, and then I'd go and get into my cab, and I'd have a panic attack that the cab driver was going to kick me out for presenting female and being a male. Or even worse, cab drivers that are like, "Oh, pretty lady, I'll give you a free ride if you," and I'm like, here's your money. Like, I'm going to complain. But that's the same idea of it, is that growth of now I walk out my front door and my neighbor sees me, and I walk out my front door and drag far more than I ever have in my entire life after the summer. And my neighbors are like, "I saw you on the news, girl. You look good. Oh my God, I love that wig." And I'm like, hey. And it's...
Could you have even conceived?
I walk into so many places like this now, and no one even turns an eye.
And that's the truth, even with the history stuff, because when Kevin started really looking at Calgary's gay history in 2012, nobody was interested in talking to us about it.
Nope.
And then when I was interviewed, not once, not twice, but 3 times on main media this last couple of weeks about what we're doing. So, you know, I know you guys are like, to me, drag queens and drag kings are up here when it comes to their representation of queerness. You guys are on this level. It's like superstars. I'm a historian. Who wants to listen? Who's going to listen to me? But they are now. And it's so bizarre. And so like you, I want to be this I sometimes wonder, am I just the token in the room? Because I've been the token for many things in my life. The token queer, the token woman, the token Métis in the room, whatever I needed to be for somebody else. And so it's interesting that you talk about that, because we have a history of being thrown out with the trash, literally. Now we're being embraced suddenly. And I do sense some suspicion from people, drag and king queens and queer people as well, going, I want more proof before I can trust you.
Well, and I think the other thing is we have, like intergenerationally, we've experienced so much trauma as queer people, so we're still just apprehensive, right? I think it's underlying that we're just, are you sure, or are you just doing it to be nice, or doing it because you need to fulfill a diversity checklist?
Right.
Like it's still like, well, I don't know, right?
I agree completely, because that's how I felt the first couple gigs we went out. I was like, oh my God, I'm about to perform what I love to do on a street.
But you guys look amazing.
Like in a
Well,
it's you know what? I find it absolutely wonderful and fascinating that of all of the aspects of queer culture, drag is the one that has exploded over the last few years. And has made that, like, you know, Farah, you talk about a rainbow connection, but that's what drag performers are now, is the rainbow connection to the mainstream. You know,
we were the historians before the historians were cool. Right? Like, I have learned most of my, oh my God, my light just died. I have learned most of my queer culture history, aside from researching it in school to write papers and stuff, from other drag queens.
Because the keepers of the historical or oral history of the queer community in North America, especially, have been drag queens.
Yeah.
Us old bitches that keep telling everyone else how to live. No, don't do that. We did that and we got in trouble. Don't do it. Don't do it. Right? Like, I recently gave birth to a drag daughter, and I'm like, we don't talk like that. We don't say that. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm now the elder. And
it's weird.
Means I need to grow up.
One of the way that I involved in queer history in a lot of ways is setting up a museum show, the Outliers show at Lougheed House. And the whole archive we worked from, for the most part, was donated to the Queer Art Society by a drag queen from Calgary. So we had all these old photographs, all sorts of stuff, but all programs from the court as well, right?
That's right.
And one of the things, one of my jobs putting that together was to go through newspapers and magazines from the 80s and 90s. And it was horrible looking for things to do with queer people. But one of the things that I did find that was really positive was how they would always donate money. They were always doing community service and work. And so like, in some ways, they've always been that rainbow connection, right? Is that
as gay people, we get to choose our family.
Yeah.
And we chose a fantastic family.
I think it's a good family.
I think it's a really nice, bright, cheerful family, actually.
Well, and one thing that I've always said in drag, before pre-COVID, also hate that term, we were doing drag brunches at a restaurant downtown that I was hosting. And one thing that I said to the venue is yeah, absolutely. And they told me how much they would pay us. And I said, that's great. And that's a lot of money. And I love money. The things I love more about money is giving away money. Yeah. And so I made sure that a lot of our money that we made at the show went to Skipping Stone Foundation, which I'm drinking the delicious beer from Cold Garden, plug. That rose it. Skipping Stone. So one of my biggest things, like you said, the queer people have always been donating because I feel like we've been disenfranchised. So we are always wanting to give back because we know how hard it can be, right?
I also think it's another version of the rainbow connection, right? Like, when it comes to choosing our family, there are people that get kicked out of their family for being queer. So we then have to take it upon ourselves to bring them under our wing and make them a part of our family and make them feel loved because they may have not felt that. I'm the same way. Like I was a part of a very small team that brought gay culture and drag culture into one of the biggest heterosexual venues in Canada by hosting and bringing shows into Cowboys nightclub. And the first thing I said when I took over is I looked at them and I'm like, we need to make a charity show. Yeah. There has to be a giant charity show. And for the last 4 years, I've hosted Jingle Balls. It's a massive charity show. We've raised over $15,000 in the time that we've been doing it for local charity, for the court, and everything else.
It was so good. And so I think people have to remember that when we're talking about drag history specifically, is that it has always been, even from the first shows, were charity shows that were put on in the United States and Canada. Yeah. They've always been charity shows. It was always a way to make money. And during the AIDS epidemic, one of the major ways that HIV Calgary was able to get funding was because people from the Imperial Court of the Chinook Arch here in Calgary, if you don't know about it, go read about them. They've got a nice new website.
Duchess and Entertainer of the Year.
I was going to say Entertainer of the Year.
Actually, you know what?
They were the ones, just really quick, they were the ones who were the first to donate a huge amount of money to AIDS Calgary. So again, we have a history in this town of queer and also drag queens and kings giving to major projects in our society. So it's pretty awesome.
Okay. I was concerned we hit our 1 hour and 30 minutes there. I thought we were about to be completely cut off, but that's good.
It was like
but now I just want to let Farah and Nada get the last word in edgewise. So what would you?
Nada, after you. Beauty for poor age.
Oh,
true.
Last thought.
I just want to say thank you so much for having us. I feel very inspired. I feel like this happens to me almost every Pride. The lead up, I'm like, oh my God, Pride is crazy. I'm busy. I'm doing drag. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. But this kind of brings me back to why Pride is important to me, because of the history and about going forward and things that we can all do to make a better world into the next year. I base my years not on New Year's. I base my years on Pride. So by next Pride, I hope that, we're not having these same kind of conversations. So I feel very emotional. I feel very enlightened. I'm ready to go put on a wicked show tonight. I'm going to do a quick plug for anybody that's watching. If you want to come see Fair Enough and I and our friend Felicia Bonet, we are at Infinity Ultra Lounge tonight at 10 p.m. I think it starts. I think there's a fashion show before us, but we'll be there. And if not, there's still tickets available for tomorrow night for the Celebration of Love patio show at the Ramada downtown with Calgary Pride, which Farah is performing in. I am also there. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing, so you'll have to buy a ticket and come see.
I'm going to go in a completely different route. Being that I am I always refer to myself as everyone's mother. I was thinking as I was watching my own performance, because the first thing I thought was, oh my God, why didn't, I just got Invisalign, and trying to watch myself perform with my Invisalign, I was like,
I didn't even notice.
I didn't notice either.
Okay, good. It was the filter. Okay, so, but what I mean is watching it, I've recently been doing this a lot, and I challenge everyone in this room to do this. When you're taking a route or doing something that you normally do on a day-to-day basis, I want you to change how you're looking at what you're looking at and not look at what you normally look at. You know that drive, you go, okay, so, they changed that billboard. I look at it every day. Okay, so there's the exit that I normally, I can go to if traffic's backed up. And you use your plan that way. Take yourself out of the fact that you've done this 500 times, 600 times, 8 times, doesn't matter. And try and look at it from the perspective of someone who's never done it before.
Huh.
And watch the things that you notice and the things that you look at. I wrote a paper for my Canadian history last class, which was the history of Pride across Canada and the cities that started it. And the basis of it was basically where Pride started in Canada and how it's grown to be what it is today. A lot of queer people, and I will say the angry queer people, because there is a group of people that are constantly angry as queers, and they're allowed to be, and they should be, because we all should be angry with certain aspects in our life. But they're the ones that don't look at the other side of it. They're looking at everything that's wrong. And Nada and Shane did a really good job of presenting the things that are wrong in society in regards to what we're doing. And that's why I wanted to look at this from a different perspective. I wanted to look at it as the good that we've done in the past and the good that we continue to keep doing and how we can keep being good. Because if we're not constantly changing how we're looking at things, then we end up in that repetitive, as I said in the message when you were talking to Nada, the fear or the resistance to education is essentially gaslighting, because there's those people that are like, gay is wrong, it's what I was taught, that's how it is, right. Period. And you're like, well, you're talking to me, do you think I'm wrong? And they're like, well, no, you just shouldn't be gay. And I'm like, but I was born that way. I fought being gay for years. And I was thinking as I was watching it, I'm like, if I could show myself at 15 years old this full program right now, what we have done for the last hour and 34 minutes and 52 seconds, my life would have been on a completely different trajectory.
Same.
And I probably would have been more active in what I was doing younger. I would have voted more. I would have talked to my elders and understood that my elders do know more than me in certain things, because we all talk about that early generation, that 18 to 23, where they know everything and you can't tell them nothing. My daughter's that age, and it's shut up. That's what I say all the time.
It's
no.
painful.
Wrong. Right? And everyone's like, you're so mean to her. And I'm like, I'm not mean, I'm real. And that's where I have been in the last few years, is a realist. And I know I'm going on and on right now. But the realism of society is there are always going to be people that don't listen. There are always going to be people that think that you're wrong. And Nana says this all the time. You might think your voice doesn't matter, but try being in a room with a fly. What do you hear?
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Huh.
The fly. So I've changed in the last year, and Nada is been with me the entire time, holding my hand, being my best friend, and being one of the most important people to me. Oh shit!
Wreck your makeup, girl.
And
You've got to show. You've got to show.
Don't hurt.
it's fine. I can fix it. I have gone through this whole, I need to be accepted. I want to be accepted. I want everyone to love me, to being like, if you don't, I don't care. You don't have to. I'm important for who I am now and not who you want me to be.
Mm-hmm.
And those, I go back to those angry gays. They're still living in that world of love me, accept me, choose me, when they're never going to.
Don't.
Whether it be family, blood, whatever, there are going to be people that are always pushing against you, and they're the ones that you need to push away.
Yeah, exactly.
Take that next step forward, walk around them, and keep going down your path. Because if you don't,
now do you agree?
We all do.
One thing that I said last year, or no, 2 years ago, we did a program with Global Calgary called Pride Without Prejudice.
Oh, don't even bring that up.
But one thing, I rewatched it this year, and one thing that I said in it that really rang true to me in a lot of ways right now is sometimes you just need to listen. And this is out to people. I hope that there's people that are watching us and that we can change their minds on who we are. But even in your own daily life, sometimes you just need to listen. Sometimes you don't have to say anything. You don't have to respond. You don't even have to agree, but sometimes you just have to listen to that. Somebody's story is much different than yours, and that's okay. And just to listen and move on, right? People's stories are different. Listen, take it in, and if you don't agree, well, then that's okay. They're on their own path. You're on your own
But no
path.
one story has more validity than another, right? That's the key, right?
Never.
You know, my story. Your
I mean, I'm pretty important.
How do we kick her out? Where's the
There's the
button?
button.
To ourselves, our stories have more validity, right? But everybody is an ourself. Everybody has that attachment to their own stories, right? So we have to extend the same kind of. Farah, you were talking about the angry gays who are looking for acceptance, looking for that. We have to do that to ourselves first, right? Like we have to say, okay, I'm okay. You're okay to walk out the door in drag and not be scared, right?
Yeah, and I think
That's not how I was last summer.
And that's
where I was last summer versus where I am today. I am a completely different human.
And we're happy that you were here.
Like, and it was exactly that. It was, I had to give up trying to be who someone else wanted me to be. And that did mean like a big middle finger to people who a lot of people think matter, especially within the community. And Nada said it on her global interview today. There's too much fighting within our community, especially the drag community.
Don't do it, people.
No.
Don't do it. Don't fight with each other. This is the thing in all marginalized communities. I'm not going to fight with you. We cannot do that. We cannot have these arguments. It has to.
And if you're going to fight, I'm going to walk around you and I'm going to keep moving forward in my path because you're obviously stuck on something else and you want me to think what you're thinking. And I can't do that because I want to keep moving forward. I want to keep evolving. I want to keep growing. I want to be a better person. And we said it before, when it comes to our personal experiences are important to us. So are sharing them.
Yes.
Yep.
Which is why we want.
If we don't share them, then people don't realize that this happens to other people, that this happens to people that are like us or not like us. I have made close friends with people who are the complete opposite of me. One of my very good friends is a devout Muslim woman.
Ooh.
And the conversations her and I have had in regards to how the Quran and the Bible and gay culture and everything are perceived within our two different worlds have brought me to hysterical tears far too many times. If you haven't noticed, I'm a crier.
Okay, I've turned into a crier as I've aged. Unfortunately, we are going to have to cut it off now. But I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. This is always powerful for all of us to do it. Everything's recorded. Eventually, we'll do something with it. So just to kind of FYI, this is the last one for us for this series.
Right,
We will be returning. I have plans. And we will be inviting Fair Enough and Not Enough who really are enough back again, because it's just too awesome.
And it's too big a conversation.
And too big of a conversation. I think this is the thing that people have to remember. When I wanted to do this program, I also wanted to make sure I had the stories like you're both sharing tonight, because this is part of our history later on. I want young people later on to look back at this and go, there we go. There's some oral history testimony from two outstanding drag queens, and unfortunately Shane Onyou, who could not stay because they had work. And then Tom, thank you very much, Tom.
And
thank you, Tom.
The instigator of much fun and hilarity. That's me. In the driest voice.
Thank you, Teresa.
Huge thanks to Farah and Nada. Thank you again. Huge thanks to everybody who came out tonight, everybody who's out there who hasn't listened, and this will hopefully reach somebody and make them feel really good about what they're doing in drag, out of drag, on their couch, whatever they're doing. Yes, follow us on Instagram, Calgary Gay History. We also have a blog, Calgary's Gay History Project. Please check us out. And as always, thank you for watching, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming.
Good night.
Wonderful.
Enjoy Pride.
Right.
Happy Pride. Thank you, everyone. Happy Pride.
Don't break a leg.